Susie Wiles. Great job, Susie. A big magazine just named her the most powerful woman in the world, and that's okay with me. She is the most powerful woman. You think about it, John, right? The most powerful woman in the world, but she's great. And we had a great 90 days. It was a perfect 90 days, and it was a great result. But we want to put that result to good use by doing a phenomenal job. And I want to tell you that Todd and Emil know this very well. We had an amazing judge in Florida, and her name is Eileen Cannon. And I didn't know her. I still don't know her. I don't believe I ever spoke to her, even during the trial. But I did appoint her, federal judge. And these fake lawyers, these horrible human beings, were hitting her so hard, public relations-wise. They were playing the ref. I don't think it's legal. I don't think it's legal. They might as well go out and just shout it in a courthouse. They were saying she was slow, she wasn't smart, she was totally biased, she loved Trump. I didn't know her, other than I saw her the couple of days that I was in court, and I thought her decorum was amazing. Anything bad they could say, though, they were saying about her, it was whatever they could say bad about a human being, all made up. Because actually she was brilliant, she moved quickly. She was the absolute model of what a judge should be. And she was strong and tough. And how do you get them to stop if you're a judge? How do you get them to stop with the playing the ref? Bobby Knight would play the ref. That's why I brought up the Bobby Knight story. He would play the ref. He'd scream at the ref. He'd scream so hard. Oh, boy, it was terrible, actually. And the people would come up, his assistant coaches would come up to play. Coach, don't do that. Don't do it. He said he's not going to change his tune, coach. He called it. He's not changing. I don't care. And he's screaming. That's when he threw the chair. He starts going crazy. And he said, no, he's not going to change this time, but he's going to change for the next play. And sure as hell he did. You know, Bobby, by the way, had the last undefeated team in basketball. And relatively speaking, you know, he had a team. He always had a team. He never had that. Well, he had a couple of great players, obviously, some top NBA players, but very few relatively. He had a team, but he won the national championship 3 times. But he had the last undefeated team in basketball. And he would play the ref, and he would scream at him. He knew exactly what he was doing. They're doing the same thing. They said, no, he's not going to change now, but he's going to change for the next one. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to scare the hell. They wanted to scare the hell out of the judges, and they do it. And how do you stop it if you're a judge? Because you want to go home, you have a family, you have children, and the New York Times will write whatever these people say, and the Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal, and MSNBC, and the fake news CNN, and ABC, CBS, and NBC, and they'll write whatever they say. And what do you do to get rid of it? You convict Trump. All you have to do is be really tough on him and ultimately convict him, and they leave you alone. It's totally illegal what they do. I just hope you can all watch for it, but it's totally illegal. And it was so unfair what they were doing to her. But they do it all the time with judges. But in her case, she was very courageous, and it only made her angry. Wouldn't you say? It just made her angry. She didn't like it. A lot of them say, oh, please don't say that about me. My family, what's my husband going to say? What's my wife going to say, or my kids? Please don't say that. And it had absolutely no impact on her. And the case against me, which was a case, I will not use a bad word. I promised my wife I would never use a bad word. So just a little bad. The case against me was bullshit. And she correctly dismissed it. She correctly. Look at Emil, he's looking. That's interesting. But these two guys were warriors. You got a warrior here. You got 2 warriors, I can tell you that. You got a whole bunch of them. But, and they wouldn't quit. They wouldn't take no for an answer. They just wouldn't quit. These 2 people right up here, and some others that are involved with it indirectly. And what the lawyers do is they're doing it to the Supreme Court justices, hoping that they'll be overcome by the horrible things they say about them. They say things about Supreme Court justices and judges that are just horrible. They're playing the ref. Remember the way they treated Justice Thomas and Justice Alito and Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Gorsuch. Chief Justice Roberts get treated unbelievably badly, and they're hoping that they can sway them to go along because, again, what do? They're humans. You know, it would be wonderful if everybody was just a perfect computer machine, but they're not. They're humans, and they don't want to be accused of many, many things, including gross incompetence. They don't like it, and they don't want it. There's not much they can do about it. You know, they're in a position they can't really fight back really very well. And so what they do is sometimes they get weak. I would say a majority, maybe, of the times. That's why I'm so impressed with Judge Cannon in Florida, how strong she was, how she held up. It actually made her more resolute than anything I've seen. I mean, it was amazing because they were hitting her so hard. It was so sad to watch this. But it's sad what they do to other judges. It's very sad what they do to the Supreme Court. And a lot of the judges that I had, if you look at them, they take tremendous abuse in the New York Times and the Washington Post, all of the different networks. They take such abuse. And honestly, very simply, they're afraid of bad publicity. They don't want bad publicity. And it's truly interference, in my opinion, and it should be illegal, and it probably is illegal in some form. There's no difference than speaking to a judge or shouting to a judge or doing whatever you have to do in a courthouse. They're doing it behind the back. They're usually doing it anonymously. They're saying anonymously, off the record, the judge is no good, but everybody knows where it's coming from. And it's totally coordinated. It's a campaign, and it's by the same scum that you have been dealing with for years, like guys like Andrew Weissman, deranged Jack Smith. There's a guy named Norm Eisen. I don't even know what he looks like. His name is Norm Eisen of Crew. He's been after me for 9 years. Now, Crew is a charitable organization. And the reason I'm saying this, Todd, is I'm only going to get one chance to say this. But these are bad people. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he looks like. But everything I read is Norm Eisen of Crew. And Crew is a charitable organization. And that's a political thing. His sole life is to get Donald Trump, and he's been vicious and violent, and he's trying, and he probably had pretty good success over the years. But with me, how did he do? I think I'm president. Am I here because I'm president? But we had to take all of that abuse. Even during the trials, we had to take tremendous abuse. Like, you know, these wonderful guys, they're not legitimate people. They're horrible people. They're scum. And you have to know that. And you're going to have these cases where you can't allow yourselves to be deflected. You just can't let it happen. You have such a higher calling. And I believe that CNN and MSNBC, who literally write 97.6% bad about me, are political arms of the Democrat Party. And in my opinion, they're really corrupt and they're illegal. What they do is illegal. It makes no difference how big a victory I had. I can have the biggest victory in history. It makes no difference what kind of a failure the other side has. These people are going to go after me. And I said it during the other night, during the big speech on Tuesday night. I said about Democrats, and I don't like that. I have great respect, by the way, for what Schumer did today. He went out and he said that I'm going to have to vote with the Republicans because it's the right thing to do. I couldn't believe what I heard. But, you know, I think he's going to get some credit for it. I think, let's see what happens tonight with the big vote as it comes. But these networks and these newspapers are really no different than a highly paid political operative. And it has to stop. It has to be illegal. It's influencing judges, and it's really changing law, and it just cannot be legal. I don't believe it's legal. And they do it in total coordination with each other. And everything we do, we're restoring law, restoring order, and restoring public safety in America. That's what we want to do. And we're bringing honor and integrity and accountability back to the highest levels of the FBI, DOJ, and throughout our government. We're bringing our country back faster than anyone ever thought possible. We're working so hard at doing it, and we want fairness in the courts. The courts are a big factor. The elections, which were totally rigged, are a big factor. We have to have honest elections. We have to have borders, and we have to have courts and law that's fair. Well, we're not going to have a country. Crooked Joe Biden got us into a real mess with Russia and everything else he did, frankly, but he didn't know about it, and he, generally speaking, signed it with auto pen. So how would he know? That auto pen is a big deal. I don't know. You know, they're having who's doing this? So when my people come up, Will and all of the people, Steve, they come up and, sir, this is an executive order. They explain it to me, and 90% of the time I sign it. 99% of the time I say do it, but they come up and I sign it. But you don't use auto pen. It's number one, it's disrespectful to the office. Number two, maybe it's not even valid because, who's getting him to sign? He had no idea what the hell he was doing. If he did, all of these bad things wouldn't be happening right now.